Computer. Yay! Okay, there we go. Oh, good morning to my brothers and sisters here at the center and Eureka, our new family. The way this works, in case you're new to what we're doing, is that I read something that was of inspiration to me personally and that I want to share with the group. And after that, we have a moment of silence for reflection and meditation. After that, we have Jackson, who will set the mood for a contemplative opening. And then Jackson will bring us out of that, and we will have our beloved Reverend come up and speak.
Edward, I forgot to adjust the slide, so if you're pressing space bar, it'll bring your name up.
Okay. I pressed, but nothing happened, right? Oh, this, yeah, okay. Well, creativity is good because that's kind of what I'm talking about anyway. I realize that spirit, we're talking about in our practitioner class this week, we're dealing with diversity. And diversity is really creation at its best, I believe, because we live in a very diverse world. We have so much here, so many different things, and so many things to appreciate, so much beauty. And I realize that God is diversity, God is creation, and it's constant. And we, as offshoots, if you wish, or facets of the diamond that is God, are creative individuals, and we're constantly creating our environment, we're constantly creating our world and our situations, and recreating ourselves. And that's the reason why we're here actually today. So what I wanted to do is read something from Stained Glass Spirit, which is one of the books we're privileged to read in class. It's called Becoming a Spiritual Community Where Oneness Does Not Require Sameness by Tracy Brown. And since we did have the passage that I wanted to read in our practitioner manual, I'll read it from there. In New Thought spiritual communities, one of the most challenging conversations related to diversity and inclusion is grounded in a misconception that oneness means we are all the same. When we say that everyone is the same, we are referring to the concept that we are all created from the same source. That is a factual statement. But there isn't any way to extrapolate that into a viable example that we are all the same in any physical, mental, emotional, or cultural way. Ernest Holmes says, while all people have the same origin, no two are alike except in ultimate essence. The idea that paying attention to diversity is divisive can often result in an assumption that everyone is either just like us or is willing to adjust to our preferred way of thinking, being, and or behaving. If I am unwilling to explore the needs or desires of people who are participating in the community we are creating, then I will gravitate to doing things the way I like to do them, by designing congressional activities, worship services, community outreach, or educational opportunities based primarily on what I think or prefer. I am likely to only attract people similar to me in superficial ways. I am likely to miss building relationships with or learning from people who share a deep spiritual commonality but are challenged by things I take for granted as normal, easy, or fun.
face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God.
We are the face of God. That face is like a precious jewel, and we are facets of that jewel. Individual in nature, individual in appearance, individual in circumstance, individual in thought, ever creating, ever recreating our environment. We are the authors of this world. We are the authors of all that we are, but yet we are connected in the oneness of spirit. We, as individuals, realize that there is always room for growth. We realize the value of diversity in the world. We realize that we are forever creating. We see in this world now the results and the problem with losing individuality as we see in the world events that are occurring currently. And we pray constantly that everyone will open to spirit and they will realize that we are family. We are individual, but we are one. And that one is beautiful. And so it is.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God.
And now we welcome to the podium our beloved minister and our spiritual advisor and teacher, Reverend Angelica.
Thank you, Edward and Jackson. That was beautiful. Come on. All right, today's message is say yes. And I like this idea, especially in line with our monthly theme of creativity. Say yes is what the universe is constantly saying, the word yes. I mean, it doesn't matter what we have in our consciousness, it says yes. And so I want us to say yes back. So, Dr. Holmes says in the practical application of the science mind, there is an irresistible, universal, and divine urge within us to be happy, to be whole, and to express the fullness of life. The latent divinity within us stirs our imagination and proclaims itself through every creative endeavor. It has produced saints, sages, saints, and saviors, and will, when permitted, create a new world in which war, poverty, sickness, and famine will have disappeared. That idea that the latent divinity within us stirs our imagination and proclaims it through every creative endeavor. And who knows that in this room and on the Zoom, there are sages and saints and saviors. And we're all creating. I believe we have the power to create a world in which war and poverty, sickness and famine will have disappeared. I think that if we really believe the truth about who we are, we would be able to do miracles. I found this on Facebook, actually. A spiritual practitioner must have a sense of the immediate availability of good, not as though he or she were reaching out toward it, but rather as he or she were reaching out with it. In other words, the truth of us is that we're not taking an energy that is outside of us and bringing it into us and allowing us to and using it, but we are that energy. We're that divine essence, that presence, that force, that God stuff right here and right now. The only reason we think we're not is because we think we're not. So whatever we're doing, the whole universe is saying yes to us because we're reaching out with that powerful presence within us. So real creativity is the act of expression, not product or performance. Your life is your palette, and your dreams and desires are the medium. Dr. Holmes says, we are in the laboratory of the divine. What then shall we create? Well, the first thing we have to create is a conscious awareness of who we are. We really have to get it. And I know it's like I talk about this every single week, but one of these days we're actually going to get that who we are is the divine essence in this body. And so it reminds me of Dr. Edward Waples and his partner, I believe, were in India, or maybe he had taken some people to one of the islands. I can't remember which one, but there was a Buddhist monastery there and a temple. And they walked up, and there's monks sitting there doing their beads, saying chants over and over and over again, a mala, using a mala, which has 108 beads, which is a sacred number in the Buddhist tradition. And so they're doing an affirmation 108 times. And then afterwards, they go up and they start talking to the head monk of this monastery, and Edward's friend says something about the fact that they had been doing this chanting, and the monk says, you don't do chanting? And Edward says, well, or his friend says, yes, we do occasionally. And he says, well, what words do you use when you're chanting? And Edward thought about that for a moment, and he took these words, which are from our textbook. And he says, there's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. And that life is my life now. And the monk said, oh, that's beautiful. That's perfect. Well, after I heard this story, of course, I picked up my mala that I hadn't used in years, but I bought in India. It's a beautiful rosewood mala. And in fact, it still smells like rosewood. And started doing this. And it's really amazing how allowing yourself to be present to a chant, whatever yours might be, but for me it was this one, being present to this chant, I could feel my level of stress or anxiety just dropping as I went around that mala. And by the time I was finished with it, I was beginning to have a deeper understanding of this group of words. There's only one life. Just think about that for a minute. We look around this room and we go, oh, there's 25 lives or whatever, how many people are in here. And there's these individual lives. And yes, there are individuals' lives. They're individuals, but they're expressions of the one life that, as it says in the next statement, that life is God's life. So my life is God's life. Your life is God's life. The divine is expressing through each one of us individually. And when we really get it, we'll be able to be like Jesus when he said, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. So it's not just in Buddhist scripture, it's not just in the Bible. This idea that there's only the one life, and that is divine life, and that it's moving through each one of us, is present everywhere. And then it goes on to say that life is perfect. Well, I know that some of us might be going, wait a minute, my life isn't perfect. I mean, I go through that on a daily basis. I just finished having 2 dogs as a dog sit. And there was quite a few times during that 2 weeks that I had those dogs that my life was not perfect. I was running around with, I found the perfect product though. It's called, I can't remember it now, but anyway, it cleans up anything. So we're thinking our life isn't perfect. And so guess what? It shows up as not being perfect because the divine answer to everything, to our predominant thoughts and feelings, is yes. In fact, Reverend Helen Street used to say it was yes, my darling. That love that is this one presence responds to us constantly in love, no matter what it is that we're predominantly thinking about. And so if we get this idea that life, that God life, that energy, that divine energy that's moving through each one of us is perfect right now, then we can go into the last line, that life is my life now, with a deeper sense of appreciation, a deeper sense of knowingness, that love, that light, that power, that presence that we call God, or whatever we call God, choose to use as the word, then that is our life. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect, and that life is my life right now. And how wonderful that is. So here's some ideas for you. In order for us to really get a sense of that chant that I just gave you, we have to know that we're worthy. You know, I know this because there's periods of time where I think, yes, this is the divine. This is the divine. Everything is the divine. But when I get back to myself, this is the divine, I think, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy of calling myself the divine, the presence, the energy, God. And yet, that's the truth of me. So I have to be convicted in that idea. So our conviction that we're worthy is vital to our experience here. The second idea is the universe has only one answer. Yes. So if I'm going around going, I'm so afraid I'm going to get sick. I'm so afraid I'm going to get sick. The universe goes, yes, my darling. And you start feeling like you're getting sick. If you're running around going, I just don't have enough money, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough money, then something is going to happen so that you don't have enough money. I remember a person that was in my church in Hawaii who was an artist. She could create the most amazing things. I mean, for a while she was doing this bird cage art. She'd get bird cages at garage sales and stuff and fancy them up and put things in them and give them interesting names. But she had all this wonderful art, and she did painting and she did fabric work and lots of things. And I loved going in her house because it was like going to a modern art museum with all of her wonderful art pieces. And yet she put a treatment request in the treatment box every Sunday for prosperity. Every Sunday. And one time at one of our practitioner meetings, one of our people said, well, maybe somebody ought to tell her that requesting prosperity every week really is saying, I don't believe that I am. And I thought, well, I guess that's my job. And wouldn't you know it, I went over for tea, and she even made her own tea. She grew her own tea, Mexican marigold. It was just delicious. Anyway, wouldn't you know it, that she started this litany of complaints about not being able to sell her work and not having enough money for this or for that. And I said to her, perhaps you need to change your mind. Because as long as you talk about that, as long as you think about that, as long as you feel that, the universe says yes. Well, she did not give it up. In fact, she started it even worse and started telling everybody, I don't have anything. I don't have anything. And I remember that phrase so clearly because about 2 weeks later, her house got robbed. And they took her jewelry, they took a lot of pieces of art, etc. And so then she really didn't have anything. And I went to her and I said, I hate to tell you this, but you have to let go of the victimization of being robbed because you created this. You attracted it by your constant thinking, I don't have anything. She wasn't happy about that, of course. But we did a treatment, and something happened actually, though. She ended up moving away, and that area that she moved into was a very artistic area. That's Austin, Texas. And suddenly her work started being in galleries, and people were buying things. And she realized, I am prosperous. I do have something. I do mean something. Or maybe she went to the first idea, which was, I'm worthy. So the universe only has one answer, yes. And Neville Goddard tells us our imagination is our connection to God. We know this as little children. We know that we can, when you're really little and you start using your imagination, we feel a connection to something. Maybe we don't call it God, but we know that we're connected somehow. And then as we continue to use our imagination as we get older and older, and people tell us, oh no, that's crazy, or that's silly to think, or no, trees are not blue, they're green. Well, they haven't seen some of the redwoods. They're definitely a bluish green. So our imagination gets diluted because we're told that it isn't real. But right now, if you look around wherever you are, whether you're at home on Zoom or you're sitting in this room, and you look around, your imagination created this experience that you're having right now. Our imagination is a collective. When I read Rick's 30 things that came out of that visioning in 1989, one of them was a building. And we're sitting in a building, right? Our imagination is constantly creating. And I, in a way, when you read this statement, our imagination is our connection to God, it makes it seem like God is outside of us. And so I'm connected to that. But the truth is, I'm becoming more aware. In this statement, my connection means that I no longer think there's God in me. I think there's God as me. And for those of you who don't like the word God, I'm sorry. But to keep using let's just use it as a short form at the moment. Actually, I just flashed on this. Somebody in a third year class that I taught many, many years ago said God stood for give on demand. which is sort of what it does, isn't it? My next idea is principle is never bound by precedent. We have this thing as human beings that we think that just because it was like this up until now, then that's the way it has to be in the future. But that's not so. These things that we're allowing us to use our imagination for, it doesn't matter what happened in the past. All that matters is how do I think and feel right now? Because that is what is being creative right now. So this whole month is about creativity, and I want us to really pay attention to the things that we're creating. And I want us to remember that it's not about the past. Even if I always did something a certain way up until this moment, I can create a new way to do it. I might have always thought a certain thing, but I can change my mind in this present moment and experience the results of that. And my last idea is I want you to celebrate all of your discoveries and your demonstrations. Even if you discover something that you don't really like. Oh, I've been thinking this way and look what I created or attracted in my life. Celebrate it anyway, because you've discovered it and now you can move beyond it. So one of the things I think that helps us get into this zone of knowing how creative the universe is as us is by paying attention to what we do create or attract and what our discoveries about our thoughts and feelings are. So let's say this affirmation together and then we'll go into treatment. The universe exists to create. I am of the universe. Therefore, I too am infinitely creative, manifesting all that I need when I need it. And Scott Marcus is doing the affirmations this month. How grateful I am to remember that great creativity of the universe, that thing that we call God or the divine or universal intelligence or unconditional love or whatever it is that we might call it, this amazing divine energy that is flowing in and through and as absolutely everything. How wonderful it is to discover that it is creating through us, taking what we believe, what we feel, what we predominantly think about, and moving through that and bringing it into our life's experience. And knowing how creative we really are because of who we are, I declare for each one of us that we allow ourselves to create harmony and peace and joy and love in our lives. More good and more good and more good. And I know for every area of our life, our prosperity, the way we do our work in the world, our relationships and our bodies, our health, that we now change our thinking about all of that. And we let ourselves remember that principle is not bound by precedent, and that as I allow myself to believe and to feel that everything in my life is healthy, then that's what happens. The universe says yes. And so I celebrate us as people that are awakening to our magnificence, our spiritual magnificence. I celebrate us as we allow ourselves to move through this next week seeing discovering what we've been thinking and feeling, and changing it if we want to. I celebrate us as we move into this next week as mental scientists, allowing ourselves to create or attract new things in our lives and recognizing how that is done. And I celebrate the one power, the one love, the one heart, the one mind of God, because it is doing all the work. There is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. And that life is the life that we are living right now. And so with a grateful heart, I release these words into divine law, knowing that they're already so. And so it is. So we get a treat this morning. Anna Hamilton is doing our music. Yay, Anna! I thought you were walking out.
It's a silent song.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. It's the month of creativity, and so I'm going to swear from Chile to show you how creative people can be.
So how could we get...
Any more creative?
Oops.
And in the spirit of creativity, this is an original tune for the spirit of spring. The first flowers make the best bouquet, and that's a flowering quince and the daffodil. The flowering quince and the daffodil make a lovely pair. But when you see the sweet bouquet, spring is in the air. Frozen sun, mud and bog, when your boots are mire. But the flowering quince and the daffodil will your heart inspire. When frosty stars do twinkle bright and weeper buds expire, the daffodil still overstands in the fine morning fire. Not rain nor sleet nor hail nor snow can stop the daffodil. Nor its sweet complimentary friend, the quince on the window sill. Long after spring has lost its bloom and the summer grass is brown, and dust blows down the country roads and all across the town. And after all the roses bloom and the sunflowers droop their heads, look forward to the hope of spring and tender daffodils. And in a corner of neglect, a briar and a bramble, plant yourself a flowering quince and then just let it ramble. lovely pair. Oh.
Thank you very much. What a lovely song. I like it. Okay, let me go back to sharing the screen. Yep, thank you very much. Come on. All right. So let's think now about that offering that we're going to be giving. Again, here, the offering baskets are on the back table, and those of you on Zoom can, there'll be another slide in a minute that tells you how to give. But just imagine holding it in your hands, maybe to your heart. And let's bless this gift by saying this affirmation. I gratefully give from the fullness of my abundance, knowing my gift blesses the sinner, all in it and beyond, and so it is. And here are the directions for making your donations. So let's just do a little gratitude here. So we recognize that one power and presence, and we recognize it as the greatest giver in the universe. It is the only giver in the universe. And so we celebrate the generosity of the divine as it moves into our lives. And in turn, we allow ourselves, being made in the image and likeness, to give out generously as well. And so we celebrate the source that is the source and substance of absolutely everything with grateful hearts. And so it is. So is there someone in our group that would like to read our Lyndon wants to do it. He's waving and jumping up and down. Okay, so come up here, Linda. Lyndon, come.
Quickly.
So come here and read it from there.
Ta-da! Hello,
But you
everybody.
need to stand back because you're tall.
I was taught one time.
There you go.
One time, labeled for life. We, the Eureka and Ukiah Centers for Spiritual Living, are communities that celebrate diversity, foster inclusion, champion inner work, and create space for brave, vulnerable conversations. We are communities that honor the unique emanation of God that each person embodies and advocate with people for human rights and dignity for all. We are communities that bless each other, see sacredness in all life, remain learners and listen so we may grow together, and understand that oneness is not sameness. We know our beloved community is revealed more fully when we love each other well. Amen.
Thank you. Very good reading. Very good, very good. So we're going to have some music to close our session. Thank you, everybody, for being here this morning. We celebrate you. Remember that next week is on Zoom only, except for Ukiah. You guys get to come to church. And so let's take it away. Go.
Rock until you stop. Rock until you stop.
For everyone still on Zoom, there are
Hey, Harvey.
there. Hi, Jack, Victoria, Neil. There are photos of.
Hi.
Hi. There are photos from Poland, from the woman where we sent our money. So you can see what she's doing, and food and the whole situation there. It's
And
on
what-
her Facebook page.
Okay. Great.
That.
Go on there and look. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Thank
that what it's from under Elena Wines, is that right, Harvey?
Lena
Yeah, I see it in the chat.
What?
In the chat, I saw it. Elena, Elena Wines, Wines.
Yes, and there's a number of Elena wines. So the one is with a woman in sunglasses and her son in a big furry hat. And you click on that Elena wine, you'll see
Okay.
pictures, all kinds of pictures of what she's doing in Poland.
Yeah.
Very cool.
What, is that on her Facebook page, Harvey?
Well, it's on her Facebook page. If you go to
Okay, I'm gonna do that and look. Yeah.
it out, Elena Wines, and there's all kinds of pictures of what Scott was reading. I thank you and Scott for putting that into service. I appreciate it. I requested that of her, and she wrote this long.
Beautiful.
It doesn't matter. I mean, I'm glad we got to know about, I mean, so many times you put money out there for stuff and then you never hear a word. So it's really great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for connecting with her.
Well, you're
That
welcome.
was
Thank
very
you, Harvey.
I have a quick question regarding that because I know that was done. I'm just a little backstory. How was the money that was raised? How did you pick who to donate it to? Was it through the through CSL? Was it through? No, it was on your
No,
own.
I believe that Scott put it on his credit card to her.
But it was a website that Scott had, and I've been trying to find that again, and somehow it's GoFundMe. I don't know how it was there. Apparently GoFundMe had closed or something. Doesn't exist anymore.
You know what? I will ask him for it and let you know. But I think you have his. Do you have his email now, Harvey?
I have the email from you. I'm looking for it right now. Oh, here.
If you don't have Scott's, it's Scott Marcus at something or other. But wait, I'm going to move down off of here because they're going to be using the stage to rehearse for Easter.
Now, actually, when I go to that link, it's still there, even though GoFundMe is not there, because got $12,261 out of $50,000 goal, and there's a list of all the people that have donated.
Yeah.
There, and
Well, like I said, Harvey, do me a favor and send me an email that says, ask Scott what site he used for the donation. And so I remember by the time I get home.
The link email that you sent me. That's what I use.
Oh, okay.
So,
But you want to know how Scott did it, right?
no, I'm fine. You know, he found it and the link was there, but for some reason I had trouble going to GoFundMe and finding it. But now I went to the link he sent and it opened up. It's right. It's still open. It's still right there. So I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I was just curious because I know, Reverend Angelica, I know you know, and I am blanking on her name right now, but within the CSL community, we have our minister who's done ministry, missionary ministry, whatever, in Ukraine for a long time.
Yeah, Barbara Leger, yeah.
Leger, yeah, Barbara Leger, yeah.
But we decided to use the one that, she was the one that told me that the Ukrainian woman in Florida had moved back there to specifically help.
So
So
that is the link to this woman that you gave money to. Is
yeah,
through
that's
Barbara,
how
then.
that's how we
That's what I
found
was
out.
wondering. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. That was the connection I was curious about. Okay, got it. Good to know. Yeah, I mean, I gave money elsewhere through a bunch of different organizations. I did not do it through that link, but it's good to know, and I can go to GoFundMe and
Well, you can't. I don't know.
Is it closed now? You said.
You may have to go through that link because I had trouble opening GoFundMe. It's maybe it's different on the computer than it is on.
Okay, well, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I was on it the other day. I was fine, but anyway, all right.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Good to see you all.
Good to see
you too.
And, I mean, Gail, you've not heard
I'm
any
going to
of
close
this,
this
correct?
down now. Hi, Gail, Klein, it's good
you.
seeing you, and Victoria, it's good seeing you, and Jack, of course, and Oscar's in there, and Harvey, and Gail. Thank you very much for being here this morning.
Thank you, Reverend Angelica. It was wonderful. Let me say something really
Thank
quickly
you.
before you go to the Ukiah contingent. So Harvey and Teresa, I've already spoken to Victoria about this, but Terry, next Saturday when Reverend Angelica comes in, we're going to get together for dinner. And we've kind of decided on the Taste of Nepal. It's an East Indian restaurant. And Reverend Angelica, what time would you like to do that?
Doesn't matter to me.
6 o'clock sound good?
Sure.
Okay, great. Connect with
Are
me
you and
in-
Teresa going to go, Harvey?
That's the first I heard of it. I would love to go there. Let me just go check with her, Teresa.
The reason why I'm asking is because, like I told you guys before, I'd rather have a ride so I don't get lost.
Oh, and I can come, and Angelica, I can come pick you up because I'll be coming into town or somebody
Oh,
will. So
okay.
yeah, we'll definitely figure that out. And so we'll be talking through the week. I just wanted to take this time to put that out there early. So, people can arrange their plans around it. And Jack, I heard that you were going to ask if I had heard anything from Lane. I have not, but that is on my agenda for tomorrow. I'll call him and I'll call him tomorrow. I feel really confident that he's gonna,
I think he's just really busy. It seems like.
Yeah.
And you got the email. I sent it to you all.
Yep. Thank you. Yes, I did. So I'll call him tomorrow. We'll make sure that happens before the week is out. And I'm really excited.
Yeah, me too.
Angelica, yes on we're
Teresa.
going and
Well, Gail said she could pick me up if
Yes.
need be. So I'll talk to somebody about that.
Oh, and let me say one more thing. If anybody in the Ukiah contingent, Angelica had asked me what some points of interest when she comes in on Saturday. I told her the Sun House Museum. I've been kind of putting that out there to anybody. Give me a text and we'll give you a little, some suggestions of things to do.
Good. Thank you very much.
All right. We'll see you. I'll talk to you on Tuesday. We'll see you on Saturday.
Yes,
Have
you
a
will.
great week. Have a great week, everybody. See you.
Have a great week. All right.
Bye-bye.
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 Reverend.
Yes.